Oh, that's your
So
homework.
here's a question. Here's a question that I heard. It's a really good question, and unfortunately, I can't remember the answer. But it was on the YouTube channel, Rabbi Yonatan Halevi, and they were talking about takanot, rabbinic enactments, right? And she brought up a real good point. She's like, why do the rabbis make fences if they're just going to turn around and make loopholes to get around them? Why even make a fence in the first place?
There are takanas and there are gezeras. So a takana is a positive rabbinic command, and a gezerah is a negative rabbinic command. In terms of like a positive law and negative law, i.e., one tells you to do something, one tells you not to do something. It's identical to the way laws function nowadays. Laws in terms of secular laws. If the court creates a blanket law, you should be able to, in some way, work around it.
Now, clearly, no ethically sane person would try to or encourage others to break laws that edify, right? Rabbinic laws that edify. Like the command to rejoice on Shabbat, the notion of oneg Shabbat. It's a beautiful thing. Who would ever want to encourage against it or try to work around it? So we're talking about laws. There are one, questionable, and two, burdensome. These aren't Torah laws. These are rabbinic laws. It says that in terms of a Torah law, if there's a question on how that law is to be executed, you have to be strict on its execution. That's the notion of Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra. Now, Safek D'Rabbanan Lehakel, if there's a Safek, if there's a question on a rabbinic law, you're commanded to be lenient on it. In other words, it's built into the law to try to find loopholes for rabbinic laws, just because these are laws that we tolerate, not laws that we elevate. While Torah laws are laws that we elevate. This is why the rabbis in the Talmud constantly made a distinction between rabbinic law and Torah law. Now, I know the average YouTube rabbi doesn't make a distinction because he's dumbing down the whole system. But if the rabbis in the Talmud made a distinction, it means that when they heard that rabbinic law go forth from the court, they, the whole time, were trying to figure ways around it. In other words, to in some way not create a tyrannical court or a tyrannical government, because that's what a tyrannical government is, laws made by men to subjugate you. However, if these laws came from God, we believe that they're ultimately there to help us and not to enrich other people. So I don't see an issue with trying to find loopholes in man-made law. If anyone wants to look it up and read it, it's in the first chapter of Hilchos Mamrim of the Rambam, towards the end. It's like the last 3 halachot that he talks about this, the difference of how one treats rabbinic laws versus how one treats Torah laws. Ultimately, this is something that the Pharisees would have fell into. That we mentioned earlier, that Chazal mentioned the Pharisees as people who ran to do every stringency. Ultimately, a stringency is something that you don't have to keep. You choose to keep it in some silly manner, like just to show off how firm you are, right? And there's a lot of things like that in the Jewish world nowadays, like making your coat extra long, like making your tzitzit extra thick. Now, there is a notion of what's called a hiddur mitzvah, from the word mechudr, to beautify a mitzvah. It's nice, okay. I mean, some people on their talit will put silver things on it and stuff, but it's not necessarily to seem more religious, but to beautify it. Okay, I don't know. I guess it's a thin line between being chumradik and just beautifying a mitzvah. So what am I telling you to do? Exactly what the halakha is instructing. To be lenient with rabbinic commands that are questionable. Like, questionable means laws that were meant to be broken. Now, if the law is clear, i.e. that there's no safek in it, well, you should keep it how it appears. Yeah, go ahead.